Welcome back to the Moment of Truth with DNAngels. My name is David Vargas, and I'm a volunteer with DNAngels. We are a nonprofit based in Carbondale, Illinois, with a global reach, dedicated to the assistance of individuals seeking to identify their biological parents using DNA interpretation, mapping, and extensive research. For clients struggling with news of a non-paternal event, NPE, also referred to as a not parent expected, donor conception, or adoption, we offer support and fellowship in our private online groups. Services to help identify birth parents come at no cost to you. Other relatives may require a fee. Today, we're joined by Vita, an adoptee who is searching for her biological parents. We'll be revealing to her for the very first time who her biological parents were. Vita, are you ready to find out what we learned?
Guess so.
All right. Okay, before we start, can you please tell us what your favorite color is?
Purple.
Purple. Fantastic. So that's one of our theme colors around here, so that is amazing. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and start by telling us your story or a little bit about what you knew growing up.
Okay, I've known as long as I can remember that I was adopted. Didn't know too many details. The only thing I really was told was that my mother's cousin was having a baby and my mother had trouble conceiving. And she said, hey, there's somebody here, a teenager who's having a baby and she's putting up for adoption. Why don't you come and talk to her and see about if this could work out for you? And they did, and it did. And that was basically all I knew. I didn't know any names or, information, nothing like that. As far as nationality-wise goes, I never really knew what it was. They said Polish, which I guess is partially true, but that was basically all I ever knew.
Well, we'll get into that a little bit as we sort of reveal all of the details and the information that we were able to uncover. I know that you were interested in your ethnicity results when you got those because they weren't quite what you expected. Do you remember what they were that sort of surprised you?
A lot of Irish.
A lot of Irish. That's going to be a true statement. So we can kind of give you some names to even go along with that Irish here in a few minutes. But I'll be doing that privately, not in the room here, because we do want to protect the identity of living persons and just make sure that we're not giving away too much information about those folks. So the way that we work a case, and it's really the same process and method that we do all the time. We start by using something called the Leeds method, which was invented by Dana Leeds. She's a genealogist who created this and has just shared it with everybody. It works great because what we do is we take your DNA matches and we divide them. Ideally, we want to have 4 groups, and we want those 4 groups to be split evenly in half, 2 for your parent, 2 for your father, 2 for your mother, because those are going to be pointing to your grandparents. So we're able to kind of put those pieces together and figure out who the 2 sets of grandparents are and sort of work from there. In your case, we had one of the cleanest matches or groupings that I was able to ever see. We had 4 very clear groups, but we were stumped a little bit because you're an adoptee. We didn't know for sure which side was going to be paternal and which side was going to be maternal. So we had to sort of put all of the pieces together, and then that gave us, we had to do a little bit of deductive reasoning to kind of figure out what we were looking at. So what we uncovered, first of all, there are 2 matches on one side of the family, on your paternal side, that we were sort of able to work very closely with. They were matches of above 800 centimorgans to just above 1,000 centimorgans, actually. So they were very clearly your cousins. So we were able to very easily see that these are first cousins. Sometimes there's some things that can make those go awry a little bit, but both of those people were actually in 2 of the groups. So we knew that you had to share both grandparents with them, and they're your cousins. Okay. We were able to kind of put their family together, put their family unit together, and the parents actually had a total of 6 children. And we were able to eliminate 4 of those children because of how you matched with their descendants, because you have 4 or 5 different matches that are through their children, grandchildren, even great grandchildren. So we were able to sort of eliminate those additional 4 people, and we were left with 2, both of whom were sons. So we had 2 boys that could potentially be a parent, and we immediately knew that was a biological father. So we were able to kind of use that sort of reasoning to say this is the paternal side, and we split that out that way. The paternal side, the 2 boys that we uncovered, one of them was at the time that you were conceived, one of them would have been 22 years old, the other would have been 15 years old. So while the latter 15-year-old isn't outside the realm of possibility, I'm leaning more towards that older brother probably being your biological father. So I'm going to right now in your research room, I'm going to drop a photograph of the 22-year-old. This is probably from around the time that you were conceived. This is actually his U.S. Air Force photograph. We picked this up from his daughter, who is likely your half sister. His name is Thomas. Middle name is Kenneth. Mm-hmm. So Thomas Kenneth, and I'll share his last name with you in the chat room so that you can see it right now. But that's who we believe was your biological father. Okay. Now, one of his younger brothers, his name is Francis. And so I do have a photograph of him. It's much more recent. I wasn't able to find anything from him, but I'm going to share that here just so you can see it, because at the very least, he would be an uncle to you. But that is him with 4 of his grandchildren, and it was taken at his 70th birthday party. So not too terribly long ago when you get down to it. But he is actually still living, and when we're all done today with this recording and I'm sharing with you later, I will be sending you contact information for him so that you can see that and read through that and hopefully reach out and make some kind of contact with him. Okay. So he would actually be somebody who I would recommend you, if you do reach out, asking him to test his own DNA, because there is an outside possibility he's your father. Okay. But if he tested, it would give us a lot more insight to make sure that this is the right path. Because if he's your father, he'll show up as such. If he's an uncle, we can eliminate him and we can say with certainty that the other brother is your father. And the other piece of things is that you do have on that paternal side of things several half siblings, a half sister, and 3 half brothers who you could potentially, actually 2 half brothers, excuse me, there's a 3rd potential step brother on that side as well, who would have been raised by your biological father. One thing that I found incredibly interesting when we were doing all of this research and putting things together is that your half sister was born the exact same month you were. Wow. So the 2 of you are exactly the same age. I'll be sharing contact information with her about her. We were also able to locate her Facebook page, which is where we captured a few of these photos from, and were able to that I was able to share with you a little while ago. So she may be up to contacting or being in contact, because we also found a pretty extensive family tree that she created on Ancestry. So she appears to be the family historian on top of everything else. So if you do reach out, she may be willing to test and sort of help prove or disprove whatever theories we're talking about here. But I'll provide that information to you, and you can make with it what you will, do with it how you best see fit. We will be providing some additional support beyond just giving you this information, so that you can make those decisions. Now, this family is where you get your Irish from. So this is when you start tracing back, when you look at the grandparents on this side in early census records, they both indicated that their birth parents were from Ireland. So the census, they are reporting that they were Irish, their parents were born in Ireland, they all happen to be born here in the United States, but that's where that Irish is coming from. And there was a little bit of Scottish in there too, but I think it was mostly Irish that you were saying in there. So that's certainly where that's coming from on that side of things. So now I'm going to take you over to the maternal side of things. And I'm going to be honest, this side was actually a little bit easier for us to make that particular determination that it was the maternal side. However, it was a lot more difficult for us to kind of connect the dots and find where that common couple came from, only because there was not a lot of information, not a lot of DNA matches that you had on that side. You did have a couple of fairly high matches in one set of the family, and actually quite a number of matches with some pretty good trees, but they go almost immediately back into Italy, which I think was the other one that you were a little bit surprised to see in your ancestry, because you have quite a bit of Italian in you as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that side. With this particular family, you had some fantastic matches. Again, a lot of them who had tested and had some great information in there as far as family trees to be able to connect and sort of bring our way down into the families. So that particular side of things, unfortunately, I was not able to find a lot of photos or other information about that particular, those grandparents or information there. There are a few pictures that we saved into your family tree that you can go look at and get some more information about and sort of have an idea of what's there. So if you have questions about it as I'm sort of revealing everything in writing to you later, you can feel free to ask and go from there. So we were able to locate, however, an obituary for who would have been your grandmother on that side of things. I'm going to share that into the chat group, because the obituary, and I'll have it in later as well, but the obituary has a somewhat grainy photograph, but it's a photograph nonetheless of your grandmother when she was younger, and you can see her name and those sorts of things. So I always enjoy being able to see those photographs, because everybody likes to understand or know who it is they look like, especially when we're talking about folks like you, adoptees, and those sorts of things, because you don't have that necessarily. So as we were putting things together, we were able to find a marriage announcement for your grandparents to be able to sort of bring those two family names together. This is actually the Polish side of things that you mentioned before, marrying the Italian side of things. So that's where we were able to kind of put those two different ethnicities together in a single family. They were very clearly married to each other, and they went on to have two children, and two children only, one boy, one girl. Since we're looking for a girl, we knew who your birth mother has to be. And Shannon, who was the research assistant on this, she did such a fantastic job. And she searched and searched, and she was able to find a photo of your mother. This is actually, I'm going to drop it in. This is probably a few years before you were born, but this is her senior picture from when she graduated high school. Now, something, and you'll kind of see this, and I sort of made a statement in the case summary, which I'll give you later. One of the things that you said earlier and that you mentioned in your client room is that you understood that she was a teenager at the time that you were born.
That's what I was told, yeah.
We think that may not have been entirely factual, because based off of when she was born, she was 20 years old when you were born. Which is another reason why on the paternal side, I'm leaning much more towards the 22-year-old brother being your father, because a 20-year-old woman dating a 15-year-old boy is not necessarily something you would see happen. So my guess is that the 22-year-old that's why I'm sort of leaning more that direction than the 15-year-old.
The ages match better.
The ages match up much more. So you can also see her name, Bernice. and you can see her full name. There's some debate as to how that last name is pronounced. We can talk about that when we're done here, but I have my suspicions, and we can talk about it later. So when we're no longer recording, we can discuss that.
Okay.
So we believe that this is your birth mother.
Okay.
So let me ask you a question. Do you see any sort of resemblance between you and your mother?
Not really, more on the father's side.
You do? Okay. That's interesting, because when I looked at, so there's another picture we have. We don't have very many photos of her, but I'm going to be honest. She did have 3 sons. And so unfortunately, 2 of those sons have passed away. So and one of them died relatively young. The other one only passed away a few years ago. But you do have one half brother on that side who is still living. We will provide some contact information for him, as well as a link to his Facebook page and the Facebook page of his son. And his son does have at least one photo with his grandmother. And when I looked at those side by side, I'll let you find those pictures and look at them to sort of get that idea and see sort of those family resemblance, or see if you see something in those. So let me ask you another question. How are you feeling looking at all of this information and hearing all of this?
I'm a little surprised, because on the paternal side, it looks like my son.
Oh, really?
The shape of the face is identical. We always made a joke that my son had such a long face, and that's the same thing.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because also if you look at, so as you start exploring some Facebook, profiles of his sons and those sorts of things, you'll actually see a lot of resemblance between his children and him as well. So that may be, if that's where you're seeing a lot of that commonality, you may see that when you start looking at their pictures and sort of identifying who they are and getting to know them a little bit more too. So it's interesting to me just how all of that sort of factors into what you're seeing here. So, all right. For what we've discussed so far, do you have any questions right now for me?
Not yet. Not now.
Okay. So later on, when we're done with this recording and we have a little bit more time, I'll be dropping a lot of details into your client room, giving you a lot more information that sort of goes over what we're discussing here and really gets into sort of the specifics of what we uncovered. It would be way too much for me to try and go through here in a timely fashion, but very much wanted to give these results to you. I know that you were excited to see them, but we'll have a lot more to share with you once we're done here, okay?
Okay.
All right. So I just want to thank everybody for watching this episode of The Moment of Truth. Don't forget to leave a comment, Purple Heart, like this video, and subscribe for more content like this. If you or someone you love is searching for a biological parent, grandparent, or trying to break down a brick wall in your family tree, visit us at DNAngels.org. We're here to help you find answers. Parent searches are always free, donations are appreciated, and other services may come with a fee. Visit our website to learn more.